Hi, welcome to my presentation on graph readiness, starting with single bar graphs. My name is Robert Oncoy, English language educator, and I'm going to talk you through this presentation. First, before you can write any graph description, it's important to understand it begins with reading. And these are the things that we need to look at. The context, what am I looking at and why? The overall picture, what does it all mean? And how do we group for information? And what kind of details do I need to describe? Finally, how do I paraphrase? As you'll see, this is going to be key later on. So let's start with a simple context. Let me introduce you to some people here. Who are they and what are they doing? Well, just by looking at the title of the cartoon, we can probably guess that they're co-workers in the same office or company. Now, when we normally understand the context, that helps us understand what we're measuring. So let me point out that bar and line graphs measure things on axes. The two axes that we need to connect are the y-axis or vertical axis. Finally, the horizontal or x-axis. So in context, when we're looking at the people from the workplace here, what does this measure? Well, the y-axis or vertical axis is clearly measuring how tall the people are, otherwise known as height. And the x-axis clearly shows us each person or worker in the office. And here we have 5 people. This bar graph then measures the height of 5 workers in the office. This would count as a topic sentence for our bar graph description. Okay. Normally, it's also important that we are able to look at a graph and make a conclusion from it. A conclusion isn't something that's specific, like someone is 1.70 meters tall. It's something that's generally true and simple, but about the graph. So what can you conclude? Pause the video and choose which sentence is simple and generally true. Okay. If you're ready to hear my answer, I'm assuming you're ready to press play. Well, the best sentence is the 4th sentence. A and C are actually true, but they're very specific. B is also true, but it's not relevant to what we're measuring here, which is height. Okay, now that you're able to look at the big picture, it's also useful to group things. Because let's face it, bar graphs are meant for comparing and contrasting. It's not useful for us to describe each and every single person. So put the bars into 2 or 3 groups. Get ready to press pause on the video and tell me what you think is the most logical grouping. Okay, I'm assuming you've had time to think and you've pressed play. In my opinion, I think the first grouping is the most logical. Why? Simply because the focus on the graph is height. We're not looking at men or women yet. So let's stay with this for now. Once we've grouped it, we should be able to compare, and this helps us build the connection between the different information that we see on the graph. So, using superlative and comparative adjectives and comparative language, let's try to draw some connections. So, the first connection I see is that the tallest person in the office is person number 4. Well, if that person is the tallest, who's the shortest? In contrast, the shortest people were persons 3 and 5. Now, I've decided to put those two together because 1.2 meters and 1.25 meters aren't exactly very different from each other. So I will say that those two together are the shortest people. Finally, I see 2 other people who are also similar in height, so I'll group them together. In the next presentation, you're going to learn how to describe these people using specific details. For now, these are 3 general trends. Okay, the final thing you need to understand, or the skill that you need to practice, is paraphrasing. Graph descriptions usually have a concluding sentence that restates what we expressed in sentence number 2. So let's come full circle. We came up with a summary sentence earlier. Overall, the women in the office are generally taller than the men. Well, what can I conclude once I've looked at the specific trends? Men tended to be shorter than the women in this office, and that's what this graph is telling me. Okay, thanks for watching this video. If you want to, review this Prezi and think about the skills involved in reading a bar graph. Then go to Blackboard and complete the first quiz for this online lesson. Test your understanding, because in the next presentation, we're going to actually write a single bar graph description. Thank you for your time.